Hi, this is Dr. Mark Hyman. Today on the Daniel Plan, we're going to talk about how to read labels, how to actually buy food, if you have to, with a label. But before I go into that, I just want to talk about the big concept here, which is that you really don't want to eat foods with labels. And what am I talking about? How are you going to buy food without label? Well, it's pretty easy. You go around the outside of the supermarket. And what foods am I talking about? Beans, nuts, seeds, vegetables, fruit, whole grains, fish, chicken, lean meat. These are basic, simple, real, whole foods. And that's what we should be eating. So the rest of it is sort of irrelevant, but if you have to buy something with a label, I want you to be a smart label reader. So here's a few tips. There's more you can read on the Daniel Plan website. There'll be a link to an extra article that explains exactly how to read food labels in great detail. But I want to give you a few tips. First, you need to read the label. So first pick up something from the shelf and see the label. Now, you want to read the ingredients. If it has more than 5 ingredients, put it back on the shelf. If it has the word high fructose corn syrup, put it back on the shelf. If it has the word trans fat or hydrogenated fat, put it back on the shelf. Now here's one caveat. If it has less than 0.5 grams of trans fat per serving, the company doesn't actually have to list it as having trans fat. So you can actually eat 4 servings and get 2 grams of trans fat, and it wouldn't say anything on the label. So you have to read the words hydrogenated in the ingredient list. If you see the word hydrogenated in the ingredient list, put it back, even if it says 0 grams of trans fat, because they're lying. Now, the other thing you want to be aware of is health claims on the label. If it says it's good for you, it probably isn't. And why is that? Because health claims are there by putting ingredients in junk food that makes it feel and seem a little better. For example, diet soda with vitamins and minerals. Now, is that really a health food? Now just think about this. If there's a health food section in the supermarket, what does that make the rest of the food in the supermarket? Right? Have you ever thought about that? So you want to eat foods without labels, ideally. So going back to the labels, if you have to eat foods, you don't want to eat foods with more than 5 ingredients, you don't want it with any trans fats, no hydrogenated fats, no high fructose corn syrup. A few other tips. If your ingredients you don't recognize, if it's got some big Latin name like maltodextrin or diacylglycerol, is that something your grandmother would put in her chicken stew or her apple pie? I don't think so. So you probably shouldn't eat it. That's another important rule. Think about what your great-grandmother ate or your great-great-grandmother ate, depending on how old you are. And if your great-grandmother wouldn't eat it or wouldn't recognize it as a food, you probably shouldn't eat it. I mean, you ever think your grandmother heard of a Lunchable or a Go-Gurt? Probably not. These aren't real foods. These are inventions from food scientists that have very little to do with good health or good nutrition. So try to scratch those off your list. Another important tip is the serving size. Now, on the pint of Haagen-Dazs ice cream it says 4 servings, but have you ever known 4 people to share 1 pint of Haagen-Dazs? I don't think so. Or on a bottle of soda it says, 2.5 servings for a 20-ounce soda, but who shares? I don't know too many people that share. So you really want to be careful about the serving size. It may say 4 servings or 3 servings, but it's really in a package that you can eat all by yourself. So you want to be very careful about the serving size when looking at the nutritional labels and see how many servings it actually is, because it's often more food and more calories than you think. A couple other things. You want to look at fiber. Fibers that include that there might be some good things in the food. So if it has 5 grams of fiber or 10 grams of fiber, that's good. If it has 0 grams of fiber, probably not so great for you. You also want to look at the grams of carbohydrates, particularly sugars. Because some carbohydrates are okay, like beans. If you have 30 grams of beans, it's different than 30 grams of high fructose corn syrup in a soda. Very different effect on your body, very different effect on your metabolism. So you want to eat foods that have high fiber and lower amounts of carbohydrates, particularly refined carbohydrates. But good carbohydrates are fine. So if it's from beans or nuts or seeds or whole grains, that's okay. And you also want to remember that you don't have to know about any of these rules if you follow one simple rule, which is, as Michael Pollan said, eat food, not too much, mostly plants. And that means eat real, whole, fresh food. And that's all you have to do. Lean animal protein, chicken, fish, whole eggs, nuts, seeds, beans, whole grains, fruits, vegetables. Learn how to cook, learn how to shop, learn how to eat, and learn how to take care of yourself. These are the basic rules of life. If you have a body, it doesn't come with an owner's manual. You have to learn how it works, and you have to learn to work with it, or else it's going to work against you. So with a few simple tips, you can be armed with some strategies for going into the supermarket and surviving. So surviving the American supermarket's hard, and I've just given you some important tips for hunting and gathering in an American supermarket, which is also known as a food desert. So have fun, go out there and start reading your labels.